Good afternoon, my dear students and friends. Myself, Dr. Ravikant Pathak, and I'm going to start your video lecture class. Yesterday, I have discussed about the human respiratory system, and today we will talk about the mechanism of breathing. So, what we will talk? We will talk about the mechanism of breathing. So, this figure, if you see this figure, so this figure representing the inhalation of air, that is the inspiration, and here exhalation of air, that is called the expiration. So we will see this figure later. So but now we are going to see which parts play very important role. So which parts play very important role during the inspiration or expiration. So first of all, diaphragm is the muscular, if you read what it given. So diaphragm is the muscular, and this is the muscular structure, muscular septum. And do you know the diaphragm, this is made up of the generally smooth muscle cells, because this is the muscular. So this is made up of the smooth muscle cells, and smooth muscle cells involuntary. So that means diaphragm function is, you can say, involuntary. So here a muscular septum which is found only the mammals, very important feature. This is the characteristic feature of the mammals except crocodile. Crocodile also have the diaphragm. Okay, it is dome shaped and septum which divided the body cavity into two different regions. First is the upper thoracic cavity and lower abdominal cavity. So we have already discussed about the diaphragm, and I think in the last class I had already told about the diaphragm. Okay, now in the center of diaphragm they have the central tendon, which is also known as the central tendon, and this central tendon which pierced by the three different structure. First is the esophagus, second is the aorta, and third is the posterior vena cava. So these central tendon, they have ability to form three different structure. First is the esophagus, and second is the aorta, and third is the posterior vena cava. Now in diaphragm they have the special type of muscles which is known as the radial muscles, and these are present which originated from the periphery and inserted center of the diaphragm. Means they have arises from the periphery of the diaphragm but inserted into the center of diaphragm. By the contraction on these muscles, diaphragm become flattened in shape. So that means previously diaphragm like this shape, and when the contraction takes place, now diaphragm become flat in nature. So that is the flattened shape. So flattened shape show volume. So volume of the thoracic cavity increase, and therefore diaphragm help in the only respiration. So this is the very important. Therefore diaphragm help in only the respiration. Means this diaphragm get contract. When get contract means it will go downwards. When it will move downwards, so that time thoracic volume increases, and when the thoracic volume increases, it will favor to, it will favor for the inspiration. It will favor inspiration. Now in here you can see this is the very basics. This is the basic things which explaining how the breathing mechanism involves in the mammals. So you know this is the balloon, this is the two balloon, and suppose that this is the diaphragm. This is the diaphragm. If you'll means it will pull downwards. If you pull downwards this balloon, so then what will happen? So there is the this balloon get filled with the air. So this is open outside with the air. Here you can say in their environments they are filled with the air. So this is the openly outside with the air. When you will pull downwards this balloon, so then what will happen? Air rush inside the balloon, and now balloon becomes swollen. Okay, so this is the inspiration mechanism. This is the inspiration mechanism. Okay, and just inverse of the inspiration expiration, when these balloons left it, means when these balloons leave it at their original stage, now what will happen? This balloon get shrink. This balloon get shrink, and now air will pass outside. So this is the basic mechanism by which involves. So model to show the mechanism of breathing, and this is giving the basic concept. If you are understanding, so that means respiration will be the very easy for your understanding. Okay, now another things also involved which is known as the intercostal muscles. So there is the two different types of the intercostal muscle. First is the external intercostal muscles and another is the internal intercostal muscles. So there is the two different types. What is the internal costal muscles? Here you can say the space between two ribs is called as the intercostal space, in which two types of the muscles are present. Means we have to see in the space. So ribs they have the space. In between space there is the two different types of the muscles found, and this is called the external intercostal muscle EICM and internal intercostal muscle. So here they again. The fibers of an EICM, internal intercostal muscles, originate from the posterior border of the dorsal part. Okay, so this is originate from the posterior border of the at the dorsal part of a rib and insert upon anterior border of the ventral part of the rib behind crossing the ICM at the right angle. Okay, behind crossing the ICM is internal intercostal muscles. They cross as a right angle. Now, contraction of these muscles assist in inspiration. This is the very important sentence. If you read the last sentence, that is the contraction of these muscles assist in inspiration. This is the very important. This is not important, but just they have given, so we have to read. But you should to know the external intercostal muscles play a very important role to assist in inspiration. Clear? Now second we will see internal intercostal muscle, that is the IICM. They originate from the dorsal surface of the lower rib and inserted on the ventral surface of the upper rib. So this is the location, they have given the location and origin. Now we will see by the contraction, if you see what is the given. So by the contraction in these muscles, ribs and sternum shift downwards and inwards. They help in the only forceful expiration. So this is the very important. Don't get confused. Some students get confused. They are also understood like that. Means you can say they are understood. So external intercostal muscles involves in the inspiration and internal intercostal muscles involve the expiration. So this is not fact. Fact is that internal intercostal muscles involves is only forceful expiration, not normal expiration. Normal expiration means that is abdominal expiration. That is also called the abdominal respiration. Abdominal respiration. And one also difference. So they are under the control of the cerebrum. So we know very well. So forceful expiration under the control of cerebrum. Everything means the normal breathing, they are controlled by the medulla oblongata. But forceful expiration or forceful inspiration, it is forceful expiration controlled by the cerebrum. Okay, so this is the importance of the external as well as internal intercostal muscles. Now next is the first mechanism, which is the I had already told. So in breathing of mechanism involves two steps. First is the inspiration and another is the expiration. So what is the inspiration? Here they have given, if you read, inspiration, it is an active process. Why means of active process? Because there is the muscles involved, and muscles involved, it means they get utilized the energy. So that's why this is the active process. And brought about by, so that means here ribs involved, intercostal muscles involved, sternum and diaphragm. So four things: ribs, intercostal muscles, sternum and diaphragm. Four play a very important role. Now the intercostal muscles contract. We have to see in the previously. So I had already told intercostal means external intercostal muscles. External intercostal muscles contract and pulling the ribs outwards and increases the space in thoracic cavity. We have to know, firstly we have already seen when the diaphragm get pulls downwards, means diaphragm from the dome shape, it will convert it into the flat shape structure. That time this external intercostal muscles get contract. When these external intercostal muscles get contract, they pulling the ribs outwards, and by which the space means volume of the thoracic cavity increases, and when the lower part of the breastbone, that is the sternum, is also raised, it means it also moves upward, okay, and the diaphragm contracts and become almost flat. So diaphragm also become contract almost flat. This is the during the inspiration phenomenon. And when this thing happen, so volume of the thoracic cavity further increase and pressure on the lungs decrease. You should to know pressure on the lungs decrease, and how milli mmHg? So 3 mmHg compared to air, means atmosphere, in compared to atmosphere 3 mmHg decreases. Now when the inspiration happen, that time this you can say diaphragm get contract. When the diaphragm get contract, so suppose that I'm drawing with the figure, so with the help of figure you can easily understand. So suppose that this is the lungs structure, this is the lungs structure, and here this is the diaphragm, firstly dome shaped structure. Now it will change their position. So when the inspiration takes place, this diaphragm become the flat shaped structure. Now you can see what will happen. So during the inspiration, this is your diaphragm, and this diaphragm is the flat shape. In the initial stage, it will form the dome shaped structure, but during the inspiration, it will become flat. When it will become flat, so there is the different types of the muscles. Intercostal muscles, external, in between the intercostal muscles, I had already told it is present in between the ribs. So external intercostal muscles get contract. When these external intercostal muscles get contract, now the volume of thoracic cavity increases. The volume of thoracic cavity increases, and when the volume of thoracic cavity increases, inside the lung, the atmospheric pressure, that means you can say pressure, simply pressure. So a pressure got decreased inside the lungs, and when the pressure reduced, how many value of the pressure reduced? 3 mmHg. So 3 mmHg pressure get reduced, and when the pressure reduce inside the alveoli, so what will happen? Through the nose air rushes inside into the both alveoli, means both lungs. So there runs air will runs, because there is the low pressure. We know very well, but this gases law, gases always move from higher pressure to lower pressure. So when the alveoli there is low pressure, so from atmospheric air enters through the nose, trachea, and reach into the lungs. So this is called the inspiration, and thus the air enters into the lungs and the pressure will be the equal. So this is the phenomenon which is known as the inspiration. This is known as the inspiration. Now we will see next expiration. During the expiration, what will happen? So that external intercostal muscles get relaxed. So it means you can say this is the passive process. This is the expiration is the passive process. No need of energy, and it takes how many time? It takes 3 seconds. And the intercostal muscles relax. I had already told which muscles. That is the external intercostal muscles get relaxed, and when they relax, the pulling the ribs inwards. Now we have to see in case of the inspiration, the ribs pulls outward. Now here ribs pulling inside inwards, means towards the inwards. And now the diaphragm relax and again become dome shape. We have to see the diaphragm like flat shape. Now it will become relaxed and it form the dome shape like structure. Okay. And thus collective contraction of the intercostal muscle and diaphragm reduces the volume of the thoracic cavity. We know very well. So here what happened, when the these intercostal muscles get relaxed, diaphragm also reduces, and now what will happen into the thoracic cavity? Thoracic cavity volume get reduced. When the volume get reduced, that time in case of the lungs, there is the pressure will increase. Okay, so there again the pressure on the lungs increases, the lungs get compressed, and the lungs rushes out through the external air. That time what happened, inside the lungs pressure got reduced, and where pressure got increased. When pressure got increased, so air will pass out. Air will, and which air? Dirty air, foul air will pass out through the nose, means from the bronchi, then trachea, then nose. they removes out. Okay, so this is the expiration. Inspiration and expiration. Inspiration is the active process and expiration is the passive process. So this is the expiration. Now alternate inspiration and expiration together. Alternate expiration and inspiration together form the respiratory cycle. That is form the respiratory cycle, and it occurs 16 to 20 times per minute in men. So we know our respiration rate is the 16 to 20 time per minute. One interesting story about the fact that is the lifespan. We know lifespan in case of the animal beings. So tortoise have the maximum lifespan. What is the reason behind it? Because tortoise, their respiratory cycle is the very less. It generally performs 6 to 8 times. 6 to 8 times their respiratory cycle. But in case of the human beings, 16 to 20 times means just a double. Human beings performing the just double respiratory cycle. But in case of the tortoise, there is the half of the respiratory cycle. Due to this, these tortoise have the maximum lifespan. This is the reason behind it. Next is the breathing is under the control of the medulla. We had already told that means normal breathing, not every breathing. So breathing under the control of medulla oblongata. It is the portion of hindbrain that controls the autonomic functions such as the breathing, digestion, heart, blood vessels and function, heart blood vessel function, swallowing and sneezing of the brain. So this is controlled. And I had already told during the forceful expiration, it is controlled by the cerebrum, and cerebrum is the anterior part of the brain. So don't get confused. This is saying about the normal breathing. This is generally discussing about the normal breathing. Now important fact which is the very important, and we have to see, that means according to exam of you, this is also very important. Normal breathing, that is the eupnea, it is also called the abdominal breathing. Normal breathing also called the abdominal breathing, which is under control of the medulla, that is medulla hind part of the that is the hind brain. This is the part of last, that you can say hind brain. And there is the role of diaphragm. So here the role of diaphragm 75% and intercostal muscles 25%. Forceful breathing is called the thoracic breathing, and which is the under control of the cerebrum. So you should to learn the forceful breathing or thoracic breathing under the control of cerebrum, and cerebrum is the anterior part of the largest part of the brain. Okay. Now in case of a pregnant female, usually breathes by thoracic breathing, very important. So every time she performing the breathing, you have to see their respiration rate also high. And here diaphragm play very less important role, and ICM intercostal muscles, that is the here forceful, it is performing the forceful, that is the thoracic breathing means forceful breathing. And you know forceful breathing, so there is the internal intercostal muscles also play important role during the expiration. Okay, so here internal costal muscles, they play much important role, 75%. So 75%. It means female, pregnant female always perform. So pregnant female always perform the forceful breathing or thoracic breathing. Okay. So now we will see the difference between this is the figure. This is the figure they are given, which is the clearly explained. Just try to understand what I am saying. Focus on this. Focus on my words. Try to understand. So this is the figure showing the inhalation. Inhalation means inspiration. Inhalation means you can say intake of the air. This is called the inhalation. And here you can say this is the normal shape of the diaphragm. And diaphragm now moves downwards. This is the moves downwards. And it will become flattened. It will become flat like structure. So when the diaphragm get contract, so that time external intercostal muscles, they get external intercostal muscles, that is become contracted. This become contract, and when they become contract, so ribs moves towards the upward. Here you can say sternum and ribs, every will moves upward, and the volume of thoracic cavity increases. And when the volume of thoracic cavity increases, the lungs pressure got decreases 3 mmHg in compared to the atmospheric atmospheric air got decreased, and when the 3 mm Hg pressure difference, so that time what will happen? From the atmospheric air, they rush from the nose and through the trachea and bronchi, bronchioles, and ultimately reach into the alveoli. So this phenomenon is known as the inspiration. Here they have given rib cage expand as rib muscles contract. Okay, so this is I've given about the inspiration. Another one, what is showing, if you see, so this figure it showing that exhalation, that is the exhalation means you can say expiration. This is the expiration, and I had already told that don't get confused. Expiration only when external intercostal muscles get relaxed, diaphragm get relaxed, so that time perform. In case of the forceful expiration, that time internal intercostal muscles involved, but normally means normal breathing or abdominal breathing. So there is the only external intercostal muscles play very important. Now you can say in case of the exhalation, what will happen? So this is the when in case of the alveoli, there is much pressure. There is the low pressure air increases. Air not increases, air yes, air quantity or air volume increases. When the air quantity or air volume increases, second time, that is expiration, what will happen? These intercostal muscles, firstly diaphragm, this diaphragm get regain, these regain their original shape, means this it will come into their original shape, that is the dome shaped structure. It will try to come into the dome shaped structure. So now when it will come into the dome shaped structure, that time what will happen? So the external intercostal muscles, it get relaxed. External intercostal muscles get relaxed, and when the external intercostal muscles get relaxed, the volume of thoracic cavity decreases, and when the volume of thoracic cavity decreases, the volume of lungs, the volume of alveoli got increased, and when the volume of alveoli got increased, the airs push or airs expelled outside the body. So from the alveoli, the air expelled outside the body, that is the exhalation. Exhalation generally perform. So this figure representing the phenomenon of the inspiration as well as expiration. Clear? So now we will see the difference between inspiration and expiration. This is the breathing off mechanism. So here we will see the difference between inspiration as expiration. Clear? Inspiration, it is the external intercostal muscles contract. Here they have given the external intercostal muscles during the inspiration. Expiration, intercostal muscles contract, internal intercostal muscle, but that means you can say forceful. Forceful expiration, external intercostal muscles. Forceful expiration, external intercostal muscles play important role, that is the contract. Next is the increase in the volume of thoracic cavity. Here in case of the inspiration, we have know very well. So when the external intercostal muscles get contract, that time the volume of thoracic cavity increases, and here reduction in the volume of thoracic cavity. And in case of the inspiration, ribs swing upwards and outwards. Here ribs swing downwards and inwards. And diaphragm contract flattens, means they become flat. Here diaphragm, it gains, there is the original shape. Diaphragm is relaxed and elevated. Okay. Now next you can see an increase in the thoracic cavity, volume reduces and air pressure. I had already told, when the thoracic cavity volume increases, air pressure in the cavity of lungs decreases and gases expand to fill the available space, creating a partial vacuum. Where vacuum created? Vacuum created inside the lungs, and this forces, means this force air into the lungs. Now air will reach into the lungs. In case of the expiration, a reduction in the volume of the thoracic cavity, increase air pressure, and now what will happen? Atmospheric air, there is the less volume, and inside the alveoli there is the much volume of air. So this forces air out of the lungs to the equalize the pressure of the lungs with the atmosphere. Okay, to remove the foul air. So during the expiration, there is the removal of the foul air takes place. Okay. So now we have to see today about the inspiration as well as expiration, that is the breathing mechanism. So today we have studied the breathing mechanism. So thank you for everyone, and kindly everyone share, subscribe and like, view my channel and hit the bell icon for regular updates. So thank you again.